can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Raphael Paulin-Daigle, founder, CEO of SplitBase. You can find him at SplitBase.com. And Raphael, I always like to point out other episodes people should check out of the podcast. And since this is kind of going to be schooling people in direct-to-consumer stuff and also agency stuff, I had Jason Swank on. That's actually how we met for the introduction. 2 episodes with Jason Swank, how he built up his agency to over 8 figures, and also how then he's been buying up agencies and what he looks for in buying agencies. On that front, Todd Taskey, he's got the Second Bite podcast. He kind of matches private equity with agencies, helps sell agencies, and sometimes they make more on the second bite after private equity sells than the first bite. And so he also talks about the valuation of agencies and what he looks for and how those deals get put together. And you know, I've had some D2C brands on here, Raphael, and some that you've worked with. I had Josh Elizalde, founder of Snow, who you've worked with. I've had some interesting, when I look back, Raphael, of some of the D2C brands, I've had a bunch of Shark Tank companies on. I had the founder of BedJet, Mark Aramley. I had Abs Protein Pancakes and Ice Shaker and Beatbox Beverages, and they all kind of just shared their journey. So those are interesting ones. And you know, this episode is brought to you by Rise 25. At Rise 25, we help businesses give to and connect to their Dream 100 relationships. And how do we do that? We actually help you run your podcast. We are an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. And we do the strategy, the accountability, and the full production execution behind the scenes. You know, Raphael, we call ourselves the magic elves that work behind the background to make it look easy for the host and the company. You know, for me, and you know me a little bit at this point, but the number one thing in my life is relationships. I'm always looking at ways to give to my best relationships. And I found no better way over the past decade to profile the people and companies I most admire and share with the world what they're working on. So if you've thought about podcasting, you should. If you have questions, you can go to rise25.com, and I'm going to share Raphael's podcast as well on this. But without further ado, Raphael Paulin-Daigle is the founder and CEO of SplitBase. Now, what they do is they're a conversion optimization and landing page agency for direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands. What that basically means is he helps them make more money. I mean, that's what he does, okay? He's helped brands like Dr. Squatch, Hyperice, and L'Oreal add millions to their bottom line. And he also hosts the Minds of Ecommerce Podcast, where he has top e-commerce brands share growth strategies. So, Raphael, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Super excited to be here.
Before we hit record, I was like, yeah, we got to talk about some of the companies you helped. And you're like, oh, I've Dr. Squatch. I'm like, I know. And don't ask me why within hands reach I have, if you're watching the video, I have Alpine Sage. I have another one at home. I keep one here just in case I need to run out. And, you know, I'm sweating from all these interviews that I'm doing. So I keep one here. But just start off telling people about SplitBase and what you do.
Yeah, well, SplitBase, just like you said, you know, we help e-commerce brands make more money. But no, of course, that's what we do. Maybe it's a bit more complex than that. And we help them grow, make more money. And at the end of the day, I like to say we help e-commerce brands make better business decisions by helping them figure out what's working and what's not working with their website and their marketing, right? Obviously, we do that through experimentation, A/B testing. But I mean, we also do a ton of customer research for our clients, and we are usually pretty good at finding out why people are buying from your site or why they're not, and the words they're using, and how to, you know, have your customers feel like they can relate with your brand more, right? So that's really what we do. Obviously, all in the spirit of increasing conversions, increasing AOV, having a better website, and yeah, growing your e-commerce company.
You know, it's interesting, Raphael, you know, some of the best marketers on the planet are very humble about what they think their customer wants or needs or says. And you actually dig into the research on it. What are some of the customer research that has surprised you or maybe your clients when you started digging into what they actually say or what they want?
I mean, I think customer research surprises client every single time, to be honest with you. Because the way we do it, right, is we like to do it pretty qualitatively. So, for example, one of the ways that we're going to do this is we tend to send this like qualitative, open-ended survey to people who bought from the brand maybe in the past month, right? And we'll ask questions that seems just so unrelated and maybe so hard to analyze, like, what can you tell us about yourself? Or how would you describe this brand to a friend? Or what made you buy from, I don't know, Dr. Squatch, right? And usually what happens is by not kind of predicting or giving multiple choice answers, we don't know what the customer is going to say, right? Like we don't know what they're going to say. So very often we end up finding things that are quite surprising. And I can think, for example, of one pretty big brand we're working with. We once discovered that women were a big part of their audience, but this was like a super manly brand. And we didn't realize that, women were actually buying this product for their husbands, boyfriends, and family and whatever, right? So that led, sure, we utilized that in the work that we did, but they took that and they started building a bunch of marketing campaigns around it, right? Which was, to me, that's one of the best things to see because sure, we did this work with the aim to improve the website and increase conversions, but then they were able to utilize those insights across the company. And we've seen that, over and over again. We've had clients who changed their product packaging based on that to reflect, the words that their customers use the most. Sometimes we realize that, hey, the way that the brand has been describing the problem to the audience is very different than how the audience communicates it. Or sometimes, we just find out things about the audience that we totally ignore. And then once we start adding those, I wouldn't say demographic info, but just like personality traits that we discover from the audience or activities or hobbies that they do, well, then we integrate that within the website or the marketing, and then we see conversion rates go up. I would say finding things that brands don't really expect, but that really helps them improve their marketing is something we see every day with that research. And I think that's why it's so exciting to do.
Perfect. What are people coming to you with in the beginning, right? Because I don't know if they wake up in the morning and go, I need better, conversion rate optimization, but what are they saying and what are they asking of you and how are they finding you?
I'll be honest with you, though. They pretty much say, we need to increase conversions. That's usually what they say. Now, here's what we tend to realize. Sometimes we start doing that work, start doing that research, and sure, they want to increase conversion, but to really grow the brand and actually for them to make more money, sometimes we discover that they have to do a bit more than increasing conversions, or maybe they should focus on something else that could also help with increasing conversions, but that isn't necessarily doing something to increase conversion rate directly, right? So I would say, most of the time brands, at the end of the day, brands just want to grow. Like our clients are very result driven. They're very ambitious people. We work with a lot of CEOs, even if the brands are like $50 million, $100 million, it's not rare that the CEOs are still on those calls with us, right? Like they end up realizing that conversion optimization is not just to see if they can increase conversion rate. They start seeing over time, after working with us for a while, that they can utilize conversion optimization as a way to test their business decisions and make sure that what they think is a good idea isn't actually going to do the opposite and tank their performance, because that happens sometimes, right? So they see us as a channel to innovate, but also sometimes as an insurance policy. But they come in as, hey, increase my conversion rate. And then it kind of goes on from there.
I want to know, and by the way, if you are listening to the audio, we're going to pull up some sites. I took the liberty of pulling up some sites that I'm going to put Raphael a little bit on the spot of walking through some sites. What is he seeing? I want to get in the mind of him and how would the SplitBase process work. So I'm going to pull up some sites in a minute. But when someone says that to you, Raphael, I want to increase conversions.
Yeah.
what are some of the components? I'm sure like a laundry list of things run through your head. What are some of the things that you are thinking through as like, okay, we need to make sure to check this.
Yeah, well, I think when someone says that, a lot of people gravitate towards what are the best images I can use to improve conversions? What's the best headline? The truth is that's probably the last thing you should be looking at. And here's why. What we do is we tend to follow something called the Eisenberg's Pyramid of Conversion. That was like the Eisenberg brothers, by the way, are those who kind of coined the term CRO, like it was maybe in the 90s, I'm not sure, but it was a long time ago. And, when I learned CRO about 12 years ago, I learned it through one of their courses, and the pyramid was pretty important. And what it states is that before you go and test images or headlines, which yes, can help increase conversion, well, first, make sure your website is actually working. And I know it sounds super basic, but it's not a coincidence that they created a framework out of that. It's because a lot of brands don't do it. And we've had brands. I'll give you this example of this very successful, highly funded direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand in the fashion space. At the time we started working with them, they were probably doing close to 40 million a year, had a really, really smart team of developers and just, great team. And when they hired us to help figure out how they could improve conversions, they said, hey, we actually have a bit of a problem with our mobile checkout flow. And by the way, this was like slightly before most brands were on Shopify. But when we started doing this analysis, they said, well, we're working on a project to redo mobile checkout. And we're like, okay, well, let's figure out what needs to be redone because maybe the problem isn't a huge problem. So as we kind of dive into it, we test the entire flow on different devices, different browsers, different screen sizes, under different circumstances. And turns out what we found through usability testing and session recordings mixed with our analytics is that for 15% of mobile users, the continue checkout button in the middle of the checkout flow was simply not visible. Like there was a bug that it wouldn't appear, which is crazy, right? When you think about it. So that's why we say, hey, before we go and we test what I call the sexy stuff, images, text, things that can help with motivation or tactics, right? Let's make sure everything is working for everyone. And you know what? In most cases, most brands that start working with us in the first couple of weeks, we're going to find some bugs, maybe not as dramatic as the example I just gave, but that I would say is the first step. Let's make sure accessibility, flow, all of that works and makes sense before we try to focus on other things.
Yeah, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit and something maybe broken in just the flow itself, like you mentioned, before even going in deeper. Yeah, I love that. If you're watching the video, you can see we're at splitbase.com. And one of the things I like about your site, Raphael, is you have a there's a swipe files tab that you can click on. And what are some of the things that we're seeing here that obviously and think they're important because you have them as swipe files? Tell me about some of these.
Yeah, what we wanted to do with the swipe file is we wanted to have finding a landing page for a brand tends to be a little difficult because you have to go through their ad library and then click on their ads. And most brands aren't using landing pages, unfortunately. They're leaving money on the table, but whatever. So we wanted to have a collection of both great and maybe not so great examples as well of landing pages. So we ended up building that collection internally for our own teams because we referenced it in our Slack channel all the time. But we said, hey, it's hard to sort through a Google Drive. And why not make this public? Because so many clients, sometimes ask for an example. So we just uploaded everything on our site. And what you see here is kind of phase one of many things we want to do with it. But it's a pretty big project. Now we've got over 1,000 examples of landing pages, navigation bars, carts, and PDPs on our site. But the next step is we're going to start scoring each of those so people can at least see, based on the SplitBase methodology, I guess the heuristic methodology, do we think this is a great page, or do we think it's maybe weak on a couple areas? And of course, most of these brands aren't necessarily clients. So there's hundreds and hundreds of brands in here. So we don't know how each of them perform, but from a heuristic standpoint, what do we think is good and what do we think is bad, without saying what we're saying is gospel, right? Because again, we don't have performance.
It's all about testing. Exactly.
Yeah.
So as we're seeing here, you can see landing page, navigation, cart, collection, product page. Why don't we start with the landing page? You've mentioned landing page a few times. Which one should I click on and we can talk about?
How about that NeuroMD? Because that's one page we built. Cool. So that NeuroMD page, now you're seeing the mobile version here. NeuroMD is a brand. They make this medical device that helps people with back pain get long-lasting pain-free back pain relief without meds or surgeries. There we go. I'm reading the headline, right? That page had just actually, I'll kind of backtrack. One of the challenges of the brand is this is a medical product, right? It's got a lot of, it doesn't have a lot of features, but at the end of the day, people will have a lot of questions about this product because it's a medical product. And most people who's had like pretty severe back pain have tried a lot of things. And
this is right up my alley as a
perfect.
Yes. My background is biochemistry as a chiropractor. So I get that.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, right? Like so many people also don't want to get meds or don't want to get surgeries. And there's so much information to communicate because it is a medical product. But you're also not selling this to doctors. You're selling this. There's other pages that are selling it to doctors, but the goal of this page is to sell it to just regular people through Facebook ads, right? So the brand was, pretty successful. The product was proven, tons of great ratings, but how do we improve conversion and performance? When you look at that page, so we designed that and we wrote the copy, we came up with the strategy, and just to kind of cut to the chase, the performance of this page was between 52 and 56% better than the previous landing page that they used. Right. Now, what's, I think, great about this page, and it's also why I believe this page works, and this is our entire methodology, is the information, that we have on this page, the words, the layout, the flow, wasn't just random. It also wasn't just based on best practices of what we think should go at the top and what should go at the bottom. When we did that customer research, customer surveys, we did polls, we looked into customer support tickets, right? When we did that research, we really got to understand, what do people care about? There's a million things that can be said about this device, but if we say, what made you buy from NeuroMD, what will people say? So even if you just scroll up to the very top of the page, right? Like the headline I just read, get long-lasting pain-free back pain relief without meds or surgeries, that hits exactly what the words that people were using and what people were saying. The 60-day trial money-back guarantee, right? Well, this is an older audience that tends to be maybe a bit more skeptical of buying these products online, but they've also tried everything. So how do we make them feel more secure into making a purchase when they feel like they've tried everything? And on that note about trying everything, if you look at the subheadline, it says NeuroMD is not just another device. It's the solution that's helped over 50,000 Americans who felt like they have tried everything, finally relieve their back pain for good, right? So again, it kind of counter one of the potential unsaid objections by using the words that the customers are using. And now we're just talking about the top of the page. But
and you have social proof there of thousands of reviews. So
50,000 Americans as well, right? But that's just the top of the page. But, sure, yes, the entire page is built based on that. And that's how we build landing pages. And that's how we tend to run experimentation programs. So, yeah, I would say that's wwhy I love this page so much.
Yeah. And Raphael, I want to point out, like, these fundamentals work for any type of business. I mean, what you're saying here is doing the research, using the customer's words of why they're buying, providing the social proof, providing, them safety to buy and guarantees, like these fundamentals. So even if someone's listening, like, well, I don't have a device company. It doesn't really matter, right? It's for any company. Actually, these fundamentals apply. And if you go to this page, if you're again listening, this page is long. It's got a lot of information, but like, the joke that I've heard a lot of direct response marketers use is there's no such thing as long copy, just boring copy. So if it's doing its job, and you can see people, especially like you mentioned, for this type of device, they want more information. They want it backed. They want where is this going to help me? You have pictures, you have videos, you have where is this going to help me, exact location of the device. So again, this is probably all coming from the customer research of what people are asking or wanting or doing. And each of these pieces on this page relates to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, like generally, here's the deal. Like older audiences tend to read a bit more than younger audiences. So there are still some things that we've learned from, SplitBase has been around for 6-7 years now, something like that. So there's obviously things that we've learned over the last couple of years that that tends to be true in most cases, right? We're not going to have entire hypotheses that only rely on, best practices or what we've seen work without any customer data, but we can still utilize a little bit of those insights to inform some decisions like we've done in that case. And
so, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so like, that's a great example. And if you want to check them out, you can go to splitbase.com and check out their swipe files. And that was the landing page. And they have a bunch of landing pages here you can check out. Let's talk about the navigation for a second. What's a good one for navigation?
Maybe uncheck landing pages because now both are selected.
There you go.
Just you had it. Perfect. Yep, you're good.
There we go. Okay. Navigation.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, we have so many examples that at this point I haven't had the chance to even see each and every one of them, all of them recently. But let's say what would be a good example? Maybe let's just keep scrolling. Let's see if there's one that I think is doing a good. Let's click on that O positive. I remember seeing that, and
I was like, I love Health Aid, but we'll go with O positive.
Or that either way. But there's
I like kombucha, but go ahead.
I have no idea what this brand sells, by the way. O positive, but it looks like they sell things for PMS, digestion, and skin. There's one reason why I told you to click on this. I think it's pretty interesting because the way that their navigation is focused is very much based on concerns. And this is a trend. I mean, I don't even want to call it a trend. I think it is just like, if you're trying to make your website more customer focused, by the way, which I think that's actually how you can increase conversions. It's the more your website serves your customer, that means the more clarity you're bringing to the table, the more, you're providing the right information. And then I believe that's when people buy. What I like about this is I see a couple of things. One, there's a big focus on concerns, right? PMS, skin, digestion, immunity, bundles, and shop all. Right. So instead of just talking about the product names, which may or may not say anything to customers about it, they're really going and tackling concerns. We're seeing this, skincare and beauty has actually been one of our biggest industries since we started. And one of the things that we've seen over the past 6-7 years evolve that's nearly always working with these type of brands is, especially for skincare, right? If you have multiple types of moisturizers or cleansers, right? Specify what is this moisturizer good for? Have people navigate by concern. We work with some brands that sell shampoo, and pretty much all the time when we test, shop by hair type or by hair concern, like frizzy hair, dry hair, oily hair, whatever, right? That tends to perform better because people don't want to buy just another product. They want to buy a solution to a problem they have. Right. So that's what I love about this nav bar. And I also love the focus on bundles and an incentive to get the bundles, meaning bundles up to 40% off. Right. I think a lot of brands are still underutilizing bundles, and they're like an easy way to kind of push AOV a little higher by also giving people maybe a more complete experience of your brand instead of just letting them buy a single product. So, yeah, I do think that's a pretty solid look. I don't know their data. Again, disclaimer. But from a heuristic point of view, that nav bar is pretty neat.
Yeah, I love what you said about people buy a solution to the problem they have, right? And in this situation, people, they're not just flouting the features of this, but the benefits to the pain point. And you can see, I'm going to their website for a second, but you could see they even have that on the label of their product.
Yep.
Right? Flow is the PMS and retro is glowing skin. And it looks like this is a supplement company.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me. Yeah, gummies and capsules. So very interesting. Yeah. So we'll go back. So we covered landing page, navigation, and let's talk about carts for a second.
Yeah, cart. Okay, let's see. I mean, you could click on anything, and if it's bad, I'll tell you. Maybe you click on Brightland.
Let's go
or Vital Protein.
I take Vital Protein. Let's take a look at Vital Protein.
Okay, well, I don't know how many steps there are in their checkout flow, but let's say, assuming people just clicked add to cart, and this screenshot we're seeing here is the cart page before checkout, right? There's a couple things, and we don't see much else of the website on this screenshot, but so I'm going to make a couple assumptions, but I think, this could be helpful, just kind of see how I'm thinking about the cart, right? The first thing I would be wondering is, one, I see shipping says cart calculated at checkout, taxes calculated at checkout, and so on. Now, one of the things I'm thinking is most brands these days have a shipping threshold, right? So spend $20, get free shipping. My question is, do they have that? Because at the end of the day, if they do have that, but they're not mentioning it on the cart page, that's a missed opportunity to motivate people to add more to their cart, right?
Totally. And a conversion thing. Like if you're like, this is, whatever it is. Oh, you spend $99 and you get free shipping. Like, oh, maybe I'll just add another product.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen brands, for example, where people do qualify for free shipping, and then they get to the cart page and it says will be calculated at checkout. And then, that's not ideal. It's like, hey, people, they qualify, motivate them, push them. If they qualify, tell them they qualify and let's be done with it. Right. So definitely something I would say. On top of that, and I think this is probably going to be my favorite comment, is the truth is, any page that we're looking at, I don't know what's working and I don't know what's not working for them. The truth is I can, give those suggestions based on a couple of things that I'm seeing that, yes, tend to work better than others. But the reality is, let's say we were to work with Vital Protein, what would we do? Would we just go in and start making a bunch of changes to their cart using best practices? Probably not. They're a big enough brand that sometimes even best practices don't work and can sink your performance. So would we go ahead and just make a bunch of changes? No. First, right, we'd want to follow what we call our testing trifecta methodology, which is before we make any changes or start testing anything, let's look at the analytics, right? If we look at this cart page, right, my first question would be, is it even necessary, right? I see it as a standalone cart page. Is it better maybe to have a side cart? Are people abandoning in this section a lot? Some brands are just better to go from cart ad to side cart to checkout, and some are just better from the product ad to the checkout. Less likely, but there are some of those situations. So we'd want to understand then when people are on this page, what are they clicking on? Does it look like there's some confusion? So we really want to understand that based on analytics. Once we have maybe a couple clues, that we obviously want to look at things like click maps, heat maps, scroll maps. Not that scroll maps are super important probably here, but I'm seeing with subscription you will receive. That seems to be below the fold. Are there some people that don't see it and that could lead to some questions people are having? Maybe. If there's a ton of abandonment on this page, should we maybe run a poll that says, is there anything holding you back from completing your order today? Potentially, right? Like if it's a big problem, let's just go straight to the source and ask those questions. And usually after that research, we're going to come up with things that, yes, maybe things we technically would have recommended as part of best practices, but at least we have data that proves we should go ahead and test that and invest time and money into building an A/B test.
Well, I'm a big fan of Vital Proteins overall. Like I have this on a daily basis, pretty much, the chocolate Vital Protein. So hopefully maybe they'll send this and they can use it however they wish and sell more of it because I like the product. But so thanks for breaking that down. That's the cart page. And let's go to the collection page for a second.
Yeah. Let's try to find a collection page with a lot of products.
Maybe no, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe no. I don't, or yeah, click on maybe no. I'm not sure what that page looks like. Okay, well, look, I think this is actually a wonderful collection page. I don't know how many product they actually have in their inventory, in the sense that, like, I don't know if this page goes much longer, or if there's other pages, but just looking at this, I'm going to highlight what I like and the reason why I like it. So a little different than the others. This is probably like their shop all page. One of the things I like is obviously the options to sort by cleansers, moisturizers, night cream, serums, mask, eye and lip care, and bundles. Very clear, very easy. They have the star reviews, 4.8 reviews, 4.8 star reviews out of 5. At the top, the thumbs up as well with how many people recommend the products. I think that creates a lot of trust just from the get-go. Great implementation. It's clean. Bam. Now, those are things that I would test, right? But I'm seeing, okay, well, they're starting with the cleanser, the moisturizer, and the night serum, which I'm guessing in the industry, usually those are some of the top selling products, no matter the brand. So I'm guessing maybe those 3 products are ordered by bestsellers. But hey, I'm thinking they do have bundles, and maybe there's a lot of people that are new to the brand and they're seeing all these products. And obviously a cleanser, people know what a cleanser is. So that's easy to understand. A moisturizer as well. But how do we direct customers towards new products that they maybe haven't tried, right? The bundles probably do that. Generally, if we have like a starter bundle for oily skin, starter bundle for dry skin, right? So need-specific starter bundles can help new customers discover a larger set of products, and also you're, as a brand, maximizing the chances of them having success with your products, right? If they're using the entire suite of products. So I see the bundles at the very bottom. Maybe, oh, look at that. I didn't even see that. But they do have like the oily skin set, the brightening set, right? How about featuring those at the very top? At the end of the day, if we can, just push more people towards that, why not? I would A/B test it, of course, because we don't know. Maybe if we look at the long-term value of the customer, it's better if they just buy the cleanser and eventually come back for other products, compared to just promoting bundles. But hey, that's an idea.
Love it. So there's the collections page, and let's go to the product page for a second.
Yeah. Can we actually open? You had Vital Proteins, and I thought, there's a lot of opportunities here, I think, that can be taken advantage of. Again, everything that I'm mentioning should be A/B tested, because those recommendations I'm going to mention have worked really, really well with some brands, and with some other brands, maybe it hasn't that much, right? But
so I was on the Vital Proteins, that people are looking at it. I obviously gravitated towards the chocolate since I get it anyways. And so that's what we're looking at, is the chocolate Vital Proteins.
Yeah. So let's look, for example, just at the size selector. To me, there's a bit of a lack of clarity, right? So if you see this right now, you have the 13.5 ounces canister, but what's the one next to it? It looks like wider, but not as tall. Is it smaller? Is it bigger? Oh, turns out it's bigger. I assumed it was smaller, right? One of the things I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, just
I didn't even notice that, by the way.
Well, that's the thing.
I just was assuming that I was on the 13.5. Yeah.
If the sizes are not actually shown, no one's going to know by those two images that there's a bigger size or a smaller size. Like, it's not clear. And you obviously, as a brand, want more people to buy the bigger size. Chances are a lot of people wouldn't even realize that there is a bigger size because it's not indicated and you don't see it unless you click on the image. And does that second image really give you a reason to click on it? Not really. It looks like the same thing, except one is more squished, right? So definitely an opportunity there. Even within the size selector, I'm wondering, could we A/B test having the bigger size selected by default versus the smaller size? I mean, I know when I order, protein powders and creatine and everything, like, I always want the bigger size. I don't want to have to order every couple of weeks, right? So how about that? Or maybe we do run a personalization test where for new visitors, it's the smaller, but returning visitors, it's always the bigger, right? Opportunities there again. I see the size selector, right? 1, 2, 3. How about, just motivating people to buy more through discounts or bundle discounts instead of having something like this, something like we've implemented on Dr. Squatch's soap bars, where they have 1 bar, 2 bars, or 3 bars. And we've done similar things with a lot of different clients. Like, if you click just on the pine tar bar, you should see it, unless there's a test running right now that, see, 1 bar, 2 bars, 3 bars. With Dr. Squatch, we never even bothered to offer quantity discount because we didn't need it. But, for a lot of other brands, the quantity could be bigger. Maybe it's 1 bar, it's, $30, or, well, I'm talking about the protein. Maybe when you get to 2, it's like 2 containers and free shipping. And then when you get to 3, it's 3 containers, free shipping, and 10% off. Right. Lots of opportunities there, both just in the way the size is displayed and the quantity is displayed to increase AOV. And those are 2 ideas out of a million ways we could implement this, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what other products go well with this? There could be checkbox upsells. There could be a built-in bundle builder that's included within this. So anyways, I could go on.
No, I love it. Yeah. So that's kind of the product page piece. Let's take a look. I know we only have a couple more minutes.
Yep.
But let's just take a look at some sites, because I pulled some up ahead of time. Obviously, you just mentioned Dr. Squatch, which, again, all these things you mentioned here, I actually buy the products. It's interesting. But
yeah,
a couple things you want to point out on the Dr. Squatch site. Yeah,
well, you see, Dr. Squatch is probably, Dr. Squatch is a great direct to consumer success story. They went from being a small brand to advertising during the Super Bowl last year, right? And the funny part is we've actually been working with them for 4.5 years. So we've seen that growth pretty much from the beginning to today, and we're still working with them as well. I think one of the things that makes them so successful is, they really have that understanding of testing as a way of growing, right? They are really, really big on testing to making sure things that look better will actually perform better and won't destruct, or completely destroy their conversion rate. They really see it as a way, hey, obviously we want things to make us more money, but we also want to make sure that things we implement don't cost us more money, right? So they see it as a way to experiment more than a way of just getting quick wins. And that mindset is something that really the entire company has. And they've done a really, really great job kind of rolling this out across departments, how they do, just their product releases. And they're a prime example, I think, of why they were able to grow so fast. I'm not saying it's because of CRO, but it's because the mentality that they have, that obviously, our programs with Dr. Squatch have generated a minimum of $1 million a month in additional revenue generated. I'm saying a minimum because I haven't checked the updated number since last year, and it was above 1 million last year, so it's probably even more now. But this, I would say, is one of the reasons why they're so successful. Is because they have the right mindset when it comes to it. And yeah.
So I want to talk. I pulled a couple up here. I don't know if you'd rather do other land, and I pulled up War Paint for Men. Which one should we look at? Because I think we only have time for one more. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the brand, but the reason I told you to open it is because this is the perfect example of a brand that is a bit new to its market, right? So they are selling makeup for men, and it's not like, glittery makeup or anything. It seems like it's very much, hey, just make your skin look better, have more confidence in yourself. Obviously, you have a couple things there. One, men who aren't necessarily used to buying makeup will have a lot of questions around it. There might be some insecurities. There might be some concerns in terms of how it works. Will it be obvious that I'm wearing makeup, right? So how do you optimize for a site like that? Well, guess what? Sure, you could apply best practices, but the fact that, I don't know, a link is missing from some page may or may not be what helps you increase conversion the most, right? It might be answering your customers' questions that would help you increase conversions the most. So in this situation, this is a great type of brand where customer research is of foremost importance, because you get to find out, understand, and research, hey, why are people buying this, but also why are they not buying this? And then you get to kind of utilize that to shape your message and hopefully remove any hesitations, doubts, or questions that customers have in order to make the purchase. So that's why I wanted to go over that, because I think this is a brand that has to listen to their customers.
Raphael, I just want to be the first one to thank you. Thanks for walking through and sharing all of this. And if people want to learn more, they can go to SplitBase.com to learn more from you and your site. And you saw the swipe files. You can check out any of the other information on their blog, their podcast, or case studies. And I just want to be the first one to thanks for sharing your expertise and knowledge.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was a blast.
Thanks, everyone.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feeling like $100 grand.